to discuss on the development of eyes embryology. The development starts around 22nd day when the embryo has 8 pairs of somites. Here we are going to discuss on optic vesicle, lens plecord and mesoderm because these three structures give rise to the development of the eyes and the related structures. So here, as you can see, this is called the neural crest. These portions, the bulging out portions, this is called the optic sulcus. This keeps on deepening and bulges out in order to form the optic vesicles, and which elongates proximally posterior part. This forms the optic stalk. Now, as you can see over here, this is called the optic vesicle. This is the surface ectoderm. When the optic vesicle approaches the surface ectoderm, a part of this surface ectoderm thickens. This is called the lens plecord, and in order for the approaching optic vesicle, this starts to bulge inwards towards the optic vesicle. As a result, the lens pit is formed. In order to accommodate this bulging pit of the lens, the optic vesicle takes the shape of a cup. This is called the optic cup. After a few days, this lens plecord this separates from the surface ectoderm and is called the lens vesicle. The margin of optic cup grows over the upper and lateral sides of the lens and encloses it. However, on the posterior side, this does not happen, giving rise to the choroidal fissure. Now we'll be discussing on the formation of retina. The optic cup has two parts. The outer part that you can see, the black outlined part here, this gives rise to the pigment epithelium part of the retina, and the inner part, the reddish outlined part over here, this gives rise to the neural retina. The optic stalk here, this gives rise to the optic nerve. The mesenchyme also covers the optic vesicle, and hence a part of the inner vascular layer of mesenchyme is carried into the cup through the choroidal fissure. The fibrous layer surrounding the anterior part of the cup forms the cornea and the posterior part forms the sclera. So in order to summarize this, as you can see, this is the optic vesicle, this is the surface ectoderm. When the optic vesicle approaches the surface ectoderm, a part of it thickens and is called the lens placate. This in turn, for the invagination process, this starts forming a pit, and to accommodate that lens placate pit, the optic vesicle that forms a shape of the cup, that is called the optic cup. After a few days, this pit, this lens placate separates from the surface ectoderm and the lens vesicle is formed. This optic cup, the outer part, gives rise to the retinal pigment epithelium of the retina, and the neural part is given rise from the inner part of this optic cup. The optic stalk gives rise to the optic nerve. This is a systematic tabular representation of the various layers that gives rise to different parts of the eyes. This covers the surface ectoderm, neuroectoderm, mesoderm and neural crest. So you can check this for the reference of different layers that forms the different parts of the eyes.